there is one habit that quietly drains your money, your time, and your self-respect. It looks good. It even gets praised. It is called always trying to please other people. And today, we are going to unpack it down to its psychological roots. According to clinical psychologist Harriet Braiker, there is a condition she calls the disease to please. It is not simply kindness. It is a compulsive pattern that makes someone sacrifice their own needs for other people's validation. And if this sounds familiar to you, you are not alone. Research on social behavior shows that humans evolved to be highly sensitive to social rejection. Thousands of years ago, being cast out of the group meant death. Our brains still carry that ancient alarm today. That is why the fear of disappointing someone feels like a real threat, even when it is not. In this video, we will cover 4 things: where this people-pleasing pattern comes from, how much financial and emotional cost you are paying without realizing it, what psychology says about building healthy boundaries, and most importantly, how you can stop without becoming a selfish person. First segment: the psychological roots of people-pleasing. Psychologist John Bowlby, through attachment theory, explains that humans need a sense of safety from close relationships from early childhood. When a child learns that a parent's affection only comes when they comply or achieve, they build the belief that love must be earned, not simply received. This belief carries into adulthood, at work, in friendships, even in marriage. People with this pattern keep seeking approval as proof that they are good enough. The problem is, this standard is set by other people, not by themselves. As a result, their sense of security becomes hostage to other people's moods and judgments. Research in evolutionary psychology also shows that our brains process social rejection in the same area as physical pain. This means the fear of disappointing someone is not just a feeling. Biologically, your brain genuinely treats it like an injury. Understanding this matters, because it means people-pleasing is not a character flaw, but an outdated survival response. Second segment: the mask versus the true self. Psychiatrist Carl Jung introduced the concept of the persona, the social mask we wear to be accepted by our surroundings. The persona itself is not bad. The problem arises when someone completely forgets who they are behind that mask. Jung called this suppressed and hidden part of the self the shadow. The harder someone tries to always please others, the larger the part of themselves they suppress, such as normal anger, personal needs, or differing opinions. This continuously suppressed shadow, according to Jung, never disappears. It simply waits to resurface, usually as emotional exhaustion, sudden outbursts of anger, or an emptiness that is hard to explain. The real-world example is simple. Imagine an employee who always agrees in meetings even when they have objections. For years, they are seen as an easygoing, pleasant colleague. But inside, they accumulate frustration until they eventually quit their job abruptly without a clear explanation to the people around them. That is the shadow finally demanding its due. Third segment, and this matters if you are interested in finance, the hidden cost of people-pleasing. Behavioral economist Daniel Kahneman, through his theory of loss aversion, explains that humans feel the pain of losing something about twice as strongly as the pleasure of gaining the same thing. This explains why people would rather say yes to someone else's request than risk losing a good relationship, even when the decision costs them financially. In practice, this shows up in people who lend money, even knowing it might not be repaid. Employees who never negotiate their salary out of fear of seeming ungrateful. Or business owners who give excessive discounts simply because they cannot bring themselves to say no to a client. Each of these decisions looks small, but they accumulate into significant financial loss over a person's lifetime. Even more dangerous, research by psychologist Robert Cialdini on the principles of persuasion shows that the key vulnerabilities exploited in negotiation are liking and reciprocity. the desire to return someone else's kindness. People who habitually please others become the easiest targets for manipulators and cunning salespeople, because they feel socially indebted just from receiving a bit of attention or praise. Fourth segment, the science behind building healthy boundaries. Researcher Brené Brown, in her studies on vulnerability and shame, found that the happiest and most emotionally connected people are those who dare to set clear boundaries. According to her, boundaries are not walls that push people away. Boundaries are how we teach others to treat us with respect. Self-determination theory, developed by psychologists Edward Deci and Richard Ryan, explains that humans have three basic psychological needs: autonomy, feeling in control of your own decisions; competence, feeling capable; and relatedness, feeling connected to others. When someone constantly pleases others, their need for autonomy is repeatedly sacrificed for a false sense of connection. Ironically, research in this field shows that relationships built on dishonesty for the sake of pleasing others are actually more likely to end or become shallow. In contrast, relationships built on honesty and healthy boundaries tend to be stronger and longer lasting. This is an important paradox to understand, because it means setting boundaries actually protects your relationships rather than damaging them. Fifth segment, how to build self-worth without depending on other people's validation. Author James Clear, in his book Atomic Habits, explains the concept of identity-based habits, where behavior change starts from the question, who is the person I want to become? Instead of asking, how can I make this person happy? Try asking, does this action reflect the person I want to become? Psychologist Adam Grant, in his research on giving and taking styles, categorizes people as givers, takers, and matchers. He found that the most successful and mentally healthy givers are not those who give without limits. They are what he calls self-aware givers, people who continue to give, but also know when to prioritize their own needs. The practical steps are simple. Start small, such as saying, I need to think about it first, before immediately answering yes. Train yourself to feel comfortable with the brief discomfort that follows saying no. According to the principle of cognitive dissonance from psychologist Leon Festinger, the more often you act in alignment with your own values, the faster that discomfort transforms into stable self-confidence. Let us summarize. People-pleasing is rooted in an ancient need for safety and in attachment patterns formed in early childhood. This habit hides your true self behind a mask and quietly drains your money, energy, and your real relationships. But the good news is, psychology also shows us the way out. Healthy boundaries are not a sign that you stop caring about others. Boundaries are a sign that you finally care about yourself, with the same seriousness you have always cared about others. The core message is simple. You do not have to always please other people to deserve love. You already deserve it, exactly as you are. If this video opened a new perspective for you, subscribe to Notes on Being Human so you do not miss other life lessons chapters that are not taught in school. Write in the comments, what kind of boundary is the hardest for you to apply in your life right now? And do not forget to share this video with one person you think needs to hear it today. Next week, we will cover an equally important topic: why self-validation is more valuable than social validation, and how psychology explains it in a surprising way.